So I'm at a little bit of a crossroads at the minute, trying to figure out how to sustain my life as an artist in the modern age, how to maybe progress from part-time to full-time as far as creating and selling artwork goes. It's something I've been trying to figure out for a while now, and times are tricky. There's a lot of threats from AI and the economy and other competition and the rest of it. So it's not an easy task trying to figure it out, and this series of videos is my attempt at doing that. Hopefully I can kind of impart a little bit of knowledge, or at least my journey can sort of be followed at the same time. So this video is just going to be more of a sort of listen in the background style thing rather than a sort of sit down and watch type thing. But at the same time, I thought it'd be a little bit more interesting just to include a time lapse of some artwork I did. I mean, I did this one probably a year or two ago. It's just something I recorded and never published online, and I just thought, well, okay, I've got that, I'll stick it up. It was a bit of artwork for a CD cover commission and t-shirt design that I did, a couple of anime characters for a band, and yeah, I thought I'd just play that, and then you know, it's probably a bit more interesting if anyone did want to actually watch while they listened. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like I say, how to present the content and how to best go about putting a video series together. I mean, at this point, I'm figuring stuff out. This isn't polished, this isn't professional. I haven't looked at, you know, top 10 ways to make your video look great. You know, I'm not sure what I'm doing is quite cheap and quick, and it's not punchy. I think a lot of people these days, when they're looking for videos to check out and listen to or watch, it's, you know, people want answers to their burning questions, they want insights, they want knowledge, they want all the answers, they want it right now, and they want it quickly, and I haven't got that. Although, to be fair, you know, you listen to a podcast or something like that these days, and you know, half of those are just people just talking about their days, and you know, not that anyone would particularly care about my day, but well, why not document what I'm doing anyway? So yeah, so presenting the work goes. I mean, I don't know how to present myself, my work, these videos. I'm figuring it out, but like I say, let's try a little time lapse, and then I can assess for myself whether it's worth doing more time lapses and talking, or maybe it should just be me taking up the full screen. I normally just have me stuck in the corner like earlier. I thought I'd try without that. At least right now it gives me a chance to talk and, I don't know, pick my nose or whatever. No, just kidding. But yeah, so I'm trying to figure out, well, I've been trying to figure out for a few years how to maximize my current, I guess, assets or products. So I've got artwork that I've been doing over sort of recent years that I've mostly turned into prints. I've also put them on products on sort of print on demand royalty sites, you know, the likes of Society6, Redbubble, Zazzle, that kind of thing. Suffice to say, nothing's really worked out too well in that department, and I think it was a big ask to sort of go from being a sort of an artist you'd sort of pay for me to work on your project, and I would do work specifically for you, to me trying to produce my own, you know, artwork or pieces or products, and trying to then get customers to come direct to me. It's a completely different kettle of fish, and it's, you know, any art career is difficult, and I think definitely selling your work is that much harder, but there's that much more you can get from it. You actually get to do what you want to do, and you know, when I question why I became an artist to begin with, you know, I look at you know, just look at my childhood, and I think, well, I wanted to just create cool art. I wanted to create the sort of things that inspired me, and be able to kind of share that with the world and do my own take on what, yeah, just all the influences that have inspired me, kind of combine those into something and then put it out into the world, which is how all inventions, all products, all artwork, all anything is created. And I kind of feel like that's one of the few skills that I have. You know, I'm not great at presenting. I'm not great at being, you know, like I think I've said before, social skills and that kind of charisma and charm. That's not my forte. I'm very much an introvert, staying in the background doing his thing. And yeah, I'm trying to just work with what I got, I guess. And maybe what I've got isn't that great, but at the end of the day, none of us are perfect. We've all got our problems, and we're all going to be at different stages in our journey. Some people are going to be child prodigies. They're going to be producing, professional level work at the age of 13 or 14, and they can just skip school and become pro in whatever field that they want to do. Most of us aren't going to be like that. Most of us also, I think, or certainly I do, want a life outside of art or creation or whatever. There's so many things I'm interested in. There's so many things I grew up enjoying that wasn't just me sitting down in the corner, pushing a pencil around on a sheet of paper or whatever. Whether it was cartoons, computer games, just going outside playing with my friends. It was there was a lot. There's a lot going on in life. There is a lot going on in life, and I think a lot of people want to have a rich life, and they don't want to be stuck indoors just creating artwork all day. And for a lot of artists these days, especially due to the advent of digital and perhaps the prerequisite, the requirement of needing to work digitally to sustain a career, just because of the amount of time it can kind of save you above and beyond being a traditional artist, although I guess that's debatable in some ways. But certainly digital art has its advantages, and in order to make the most of that, typically you have to sit down at a desk and work, unless you have an iPad and some kind of tablet that you can transport around. But even then, something I've noticed with art, for me in general, and I'm sure this is true of a lot of artists, I can't just go to like a busy pub or restaurant or coffee shop or something and sit down and draw. A lot, especially if it's something that I need to concentrate on. If it's something quite taxing, I'm drawing stuff I haven't drawn before, or working on some kind of problem, trying to solve some sort of problem that needs a bit of brain power. I need silence for that, so it has to be in a quiet room somewhere. Perhaps if the task isn't too taxing, I can put some music on, especially like instrumental music. Lyrics, trying to follow lyrics it takes another level of sort of brain power, I guess, for me personally. And then maybe I can listen to like a podcast or talking or something a lot more complicated when it is just that kind of process work, like the work at the minute that's up on the screen. This is digital inking. It takes concentration and focus to not be too messy with the lines. I'm not a professional inker per se, but it's part of the process of creating a lot of the artwork I do. And for me, I need concentration, but at the same time, I've done it enough such that I'm not looking at reference. I'm not needing to divert my attention from other things. I'm just getting on with it. So I get the opportunity here just to, if I wanted to, listen to something in the background. And I'm hoping I could one day get to a point where people might enjoy, maybe this is wishful thinking, but to some degree enjoy or find some kind of insight from the sort of videos that I would like to put out, or the sort of talks that I would like to put out. Kind of like this one, I would hope that this would be something that, given that an artist is typically going to be sat down in front of their desk pushing pixels around the screen, or pushing graphite along a sheet of paper all day, is there a way for me to create a small piece of content that would actually be useful? Like I don't know if this particular talk is that. I'm sure it's not, but that would be something I would like to work towards, something where I can kind of say something that is worth listening to. And at this time, if anyone hadn't already checked out, they probably would have done, if they are assuming the rest of this isn't going to be worth listening to. Hopefully there's something in here which is of insight. And like I've said before, like the reason I wanted to do these videos is because I found a guy, it was an older guy, basically putting a video together to say it's never too young, you're never too old, sorry, to put a video together, or it's never too late to put a video online or be involved in YouTube or whatever it is. And the video wasn't great. It was probably more well done, probably better edited, probably more considered than me just throwing up a piece of me working or just chatting away at randomly without a script or any real direction. But it just kind of made me think that I appreciated that someone made the effort to put a video out there. It's a video that actually ended up catching on for some reason. I think because it was an encouraging video. It was, there was a purpose to it. It was just giving you a little motive, little bit of inspiration to go out there and try and do something. And sometimes that's all people want, and that's enough for people to, want to listen to the message, share the video. It can then gain traction on the rankings and whatever. I feel like the way my mind works, it's not very focused like that. It tends to be all over the place. So I normally have a general gist of kind of my intention, but 30 seconds, even 10 seconds into me start to talk, I can easily go off tangent, and it can always be quite hard to get back on track. So I'll do my best, but yeah, I think right now it's just kind of, I'm just in a sort of strange place where, like I say, I'm trying to figure out what my next move should be, given my situation, and I've highlighted that in the last couple of videos that I released. So now it's like I've come to the conclusion that it's going to be incremental improvements in some way, shape or form in order to figure this out and to get better. And as long as that is kind of like the kind of initial goal, just every day to try and improve what it is I'm doing, and to almost map where I'm going. I think it's easy to get quite bogged down in the details and to spend forever trying to figure out where to go and then not make any progress towards it. And I think you need to figure it out. I think you need a plan, because otherwise, if you don't have a map at all, you can just end up going in completely the wrong direction. Then you're going to have to take extra time just to get back to where you started before you can then set off and try again. So I think it's good to kind of analyze yourself and your sort of position in the world, and to try and figure out where you've been and what you've the skills you've acquired or the knowledge you've got, in order to then make a wise decision in moving forward. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, and that's just me. This is me just documenting that process. So going back to this thing I said about having this idea a few years ago to maximise the products, the assets that I had created. I feel like I've done as much as I can with the artwork I've put out there, and maybe there's a way to make more of what I've got. It's really hard to know sometimes. Sometimes you can go out and produce something and share it with the world, and maybe it doesn't get the reception you'd ideally hope for. Maybe you feel that it's kind of fallen on deaf ears, and it's hard to know whether you've got something or whether it is just trash. Because obviously if it's trash, no one cares, people will move on, and to some degree fair enough. But it's quite difficult when you just don't know. You don't know whether you've got something but you're releasing it at the wrong time or to the wrong audience, or maybe it's nearly there but it just needs a tweak. And really, without getting any kind of good quality feedback from someone you can trust and who's willing to actually give you the time, it's quite hard to properly assess what anyone should do about anything that they've tried to put out into the world. Which is difficult with something like YouTube as well, because it would be good it would be good for me to ask some feedback, both from just a general audience, because I don't think you should underestimate people that aren't even artists. They know what they like, and they might even be able to tell you why they like it or not, as the case may be. It's difficult when, in my case, I'm a complete unknown on the YouTube platform. I mean, to some degree, I'm a complete unknown on all social media. I've been trying to up my game with social media over the years and to try and establish myself to some degree. Sustaining it, I find, is always difficult, particularly something like Instagram or Twitter. Like, really, I don't want to be on these platforms. I'm on them because it seems like that's what you've got to do. It's a complete means to an end, and I don't enjoy posting. I don't really enjoy the platform and the way it works, the way that you might want to just go in, post, then walk away, but you can't, because there's a whole news feed of things to look at, and then before you know it, you spent 30 minutes scrolling through a feed, and you haven't achieved anything, and you've wasted your time effectively. And for me, I'm easily caught by social media. I'm sure most people are, but I'm sure there are ways. I'm sure, I'm vaguely aware of products out there that allow you to distance yourself from social media, whereby you don't need to log in to see a feed like the Meta Studio, where you can release Facebook and Instagram posts kind of separate from the platforms themselves. Although Facebook as a platform and Meta, it's all clunky, the website doesn't work properly, it doesn't load properly, I don't like the interface. So again, it's frustrating times just using social media. But that seems to be the way that artists need to go in order to promote, and I feel like promotion is one of those big things. Like I say, how do I know if I've got something good or not? Well, I need to put it out into the world, and I need to put it out into the world and get enough eyeballs on it so that I can get some, a general gist, some general feedback. Is this working? But also, I kind of feel like I need some context for if something's working. For example, if you wanted to sell a product on the internet, let's say you've got a hairdryer that you want to sell on Amazon, where you can have a look, you can find out fairly easily how many views or you would need on your product listing in order to turn one of those views into a sale, like a conversion rate or a click-through rate. Statistics like that. You can, if you don't mind being a bit business-minded for a second, you can figure that kind of stuff out, and you kind of know the general gist of what your competitors are sort of converting at and what you can convert at. With an artwork product that only you have ever created and only you are selling, it becomes quite difficult to work out what a good conversion rate is. I remember looking into this briefly for a few hours, and this was a while back, and it generally seems like if you can get 100 people to look at your product, you would hope to get between a 5 to 10% conversion rate. So 5 to 10 of those people out of the 100 would go on to buy the product, and from there you can kind of work out what you need to sell the product at, how much you can how much money you could afford to lose on advertising and all that kind of stuff. With art, it seems like the conversion rates are going to be lower in general. People don't need art. You need hair dryers. Well, I guess you don't need them, but there are certainly products which are a lot easier to sell, and art is a very niche thing. Especially the content of art can be very particular to a lot of people. I think most people, when they think about wall art, putting things on their walls, they're probably just going to want a photo of their family members, or just something quite generic, a nice sunset or some flowers. Nothing necessarily wrong with that. Being an artist of some capacity, I kind of find that a bit dull and boring, and I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard to sell the idea of upgrading to something a bit more meaningful or unique. I used to use this, or I still do, I use this slogan on my sales pages when I do try and sell my artwork, and it's that you are unique and so too should your artwork be. And if you're not unique, then certainly don't look at my stuff, because you're gonna need to be quite a certain type of person, I guess you could say, in order to be really interested in what I'm producing, which is fine to some degree. But it's difficult to figure out what a good conversion rate is. I mean, the best you can do is try and find someone willing to say, oh, I'm selling, free prints for every 100 customers that check out my sales listing of my art prints or whatever. And then you'd be like, oh, okay, 3%. So you're getting 3%, right? I can work with that. That might be something that I now need to sort of work towards. And yeah, I guess in assessing a product to see if it's viable, you need to you might need to get 1,000 people click on that product, or maybe 10,000 people, or certainly that would, impressions, the amount of people that would at least see the product before maybe then clicking on the actual listing page. I guess you need some time to gather data, and then from there you can kind of work out whether people think this is working, whether it's not, tweak the product. But certainly it's not an easy process. So in order to try and get the views and the impressions, the clicks and the conversions, the idea is to use social media. It's something I've never liked ever. I've used it, I've done it, got the t-shirt. It's tricky, and I've got to the point now where it's like, well, look, I don't enjoy it, so let's try using it. Let's try doing experiments on it. So last week, in order to try and promote some bits, I thought, right, okay, I've already created artwork which I haven't really pushed too much, other than a quick, to a few people that kind of follow me. I say a few because even though there are thousands, only a handful of those will end up going on to actually see the artwork that's being posted. But I thought, let's try and get this in front of people who aren't necessarily other artists, which probably makes up a lot of people that I know. And so one of my little experiments last week, for example, just trying to boost my current assets and products to some degree, was to just go on Facebook, join some Facebook groups relevant to the product or the artwork that I wanted to post, and just show people, just make people aware that this is a thing that I've done. Check it out, and I guess if anyone liked it enough, they could follow me, they could buy it, they could do whatever they wanted. A lot of websites, a lot of Facebook groups aren't going to let you spam and just say buy my product. And so I didn't necessarily try the hard sell, but I wanted to just see if you were to just turn up at a group and say, hi, I'm new here, here's what I do, what would be the reaction? So anyway, that was part of an experiment that I ran last week. I'm still waiting on the results. It's an experiment that I've ran in the past as well. At this stage, let me just say that I don't think it was worth my time. It's an experiment which could be tweaked and improved, but just off the bat, just going in and saying, hi, this is me, no one really cares. So yeah, it's a difficult battle. How does anyone really get anywhere? And the only thing that I can see, and this is a bit sort of old-fashioned boomerish of me to say this, is like, you need to do something viral. You really need to up your game and tap into the sort of psychological manipulation tactics of things like clickbait in order to get the views, at least to begin with. And then maybe from there you can start being your genuine, authentic self. But it seems like perhaps to start you need the clickbait, and because at the end of the day you're competing with other people that are using the clickbait, or at least the sort of very well considered ways of putting content on the internet, whether it's optimizing your thumbnail, optimizing your sort of keywords and tags, or optimizing your description, or optimizing your, the times a day that you post. There's so many little variables that people tweak in order to try and increase follower counts and views. And it's a bit of a minefield, really. It's trying to figure out how to become a social media or SEO expert. There's a lot to this kind of thing, and there are so many different strategies that people can try, and it's something that I'm attempting to learn, but I'm not really too invested in it. I don't want to be a professional marketing person. It's just, as always, these are all means to an end type jobs, and every hour that's spent attempting to figure out how to boost my presence on social media, or every hour figuring it out, every other hour then actually producing whatever's needed, maybe like a short reel video, is time away from doing the main thing that I want to be doing. So I'm really trying to just look at what I want to be doing, and maybe one idea is to kind of just do that. Because what's worse than spending hundreds of hours on social media in an attempt to promote is, doing it but then getting absolutely nowhere, because then you've just spent hours and hours doing nothing for no reason. So I mean, it's a complicated topic. It's something I could talk a lot more about. I'm trying to just limit to some degree, even though like I say, videos, typically people would get to this mark, we're probably about 30 minutes in, and think, well, look, I just hoped that you would have the answer to being a millionaire and to being super successful and the rest of it. Funnily enough, even though those are the things that people want, and people will keep clicking on that forever, there is no answer. There's no answer to anything, really. Because really, when you look at it, at the end of the day, if you're a high-end pro, top of your game in whatever endeavour you've tried to take on, you weren't the sort of person that was going around necessarily saying, keep asking, how do I do it? You went and did it. And you're either going to do it or you're not. And a lot of advice, there isn't really much most people can say in order to, give you the secret key to whatever it is you're trying to achieve. There is no shortcut, really. So, I mean, the trouble is I kind of know that, but yeah, people still want they want that info. Like I say, they want it now. Tell me how to be slim and attractive and physically fit and super successful and rich and liked by everyone, and they want it. They want the answers now, and anyone offering that is gonna do a lot better than some rando ranting on the internet about their little insignificant life. But at the same time, to me, I find that more interesting. Just regular people just talking about their regular woes or issues in life. I guess the hard thing really then is, okay, well, I like that sort of thing, but how do you even get found for being a rambler? Because I think there are a lot of sort of lifestyle vlogs and sort of video journals that people put out there. I don't really subscribe to any of that. My newsfeed on YouTube has been cultivated into a combination of kind of educational stuff with a little bit of entertainment stuff. Kind of the quick, this is fun, this is funny type. I want to sit down and have something to eat for 20 minutes and watch, watch someone do something amazing, or entertaining. So I either want that or I want something kind of more long form, normally podcasts or people discussing kind of deep, interesting topics that I can kind of consider and get something out of. Getting found. That's interesting. Just, I guess, from my perspective, both trying to be an artist and someone who's trying to be a promoter. I mean, ultimately, it's all about producing a product of some description and then getting that in the hands of other people that will actually want it. And then for me to be able to sustain that, so basically being able to make a living from doing that, that's the ultimate goal, really. But along the way, it's kind of knowing that, okay, well, you're going to need to promote yourself. How can you promote yourself without it just destroying you? From thinking, I have to post 5,000 times a year on social media, and I need to spend 90% of my work week promoting myself. Is there a way to avoid that? Because even if I've spent, taken 10% out of my work year in promoting, that was, like I say, probably too much, because I don't enjoy social media. Maybe the trick is to find ways to enjoy it. And I think that, the advice seems to be to try and be genuine, authentic, and to do kind of what you want to do, that you're passionate about. And for me personally, I find that it makes sense and it sounds great, but I personally find that really difficult. I've always been a really private person, and I don't like to share details about myself. I mentioned a few videos back that I first started putting my work out online on the internet back in probably about 1999, 2000. And I had my first little art website. It was a hobby site. I was just putting a few stupid little pictures up that I'd produced, and at the time I didn't think it was stupid. I kind of thought it was quite good. But you look back and, I think times change. But back then, and even when I would go on like message forums back in the early days of the internet, generally I didn't share a lot of personal information. These days it's just a given that everyone's lives, everything, warts and all, is on display for everyone to see. And fair enough, there are a lot of people that just don't want to do that. Some people don't want to ever show their face on the internet. I never did. Some people don't want to talk, but they're happy to maybe write. That's generally how I prefer to do things. I think I much prefer writing than presenting. But I guess I can talk. It's just I get easily stifled. I know I don't have a great talking voice. I feel very self-conscious, and anxiety and the rest of it always sets in. Whereas obviously when I'm writing, I don't have to worry about that. If I'm getting stuck with what to say, I can just pause. Maybe it's easy to sound smart when you write, because you can write a sentence out, realize it sounds stupid, and then go back and correct it. If you're trying to talk continually, and potentially, or specifically, if you aren't used to it, it can be quite difficult. And something I have noticed, I don't like creating videos either. I don't like spending half a day editing videos, and I know you're supposed to, and I know people haven't got the time to sit around for people that aren't willing to do that. But I kind of realised when I started doing a few little videos talking about just what I'm working on, short social media style posts, just in video form, they didn't get much traction or views. No one really cared, I guess. But excuse me. I just did them because I wanted to do something in a whole take without editing. Even that cough just then, I'm not going to edit that out. So sorry, but I haven't got the time for it. And I don't think you have to. I don't think I have to right now. Because like I say, I've got... Right now, at this moment, I have 200 or so subscribers on YouTube. Out of those, I would imagine maybe like 5% of them, or maybe 10% of them would even see this video pop up in their news feed. And out of those, maybe only a few would even watch it. So yeah, that's the good thing, you know, when no one really cares what you're doing, that, you know, like the world doesn't really care. There's so many things going on in the world today. There's so many amazing things. I mean, the internet, scroll through TikTok for an hour and try not to find a dozen amazing things that have happened that day. That even if it's just stuff that you personally find amazing that no one else does, but generally it's going to be crazy things, you know, like a crocodile eating a car or something, and then becoming a crocodile car hybrid machine thing. I don't know. There's going to be some crazy weird thing, and fair enough. You know, wow, a crocodile managed to fit a whole car in its mouth. You know, who isn't going to say, well, I want to see this? You know, to some degree, fair enough, but yeah, it kind of means that anything that anyone else puts out is not just going to get a lot of attention, and maybe just doesn't deserve a lot of attention, you know. So, but like I say, the good thing about that is that you can just make mistakes and say a lot of rubbish, and know that, I don't know, 10 people will only ever hear what you're saying, and will those 10 people even really care that much? But yeah, like I say, at some point in the future, I would like to get to a point where I could put some video content out on YouTube, or like I say, just audio content like this one, mostly audio. Well, that's the purpose mainly, where people would listen to it and I would have something to offer and people would value that in some way. And then I could maybe ask for feedback in order to give back more, if that makes sense. Because I would like to know what people want ultimately. Because maybe it aligns with what I want, but I just don't know. like I've got so many ideas of things that I would like to make one day or create. Like I've actually got like a list of, I think, over 200 pieces of character art, fan art, that I would like to draw one day. Characters, characters from popular series or games like Final Fantasy VII or Resident Evil or Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, I don't know why I'm talking just games, but yeah, anime as well. But what do I do? It would be nice for people, you know, to be able to take a poll, you know, and find that 90% of people actually want to see some Final Fantasy artwork or something. But then the sort of the worried imposter in me thinks, well, who's going to care about a rando on the internet who, you know, like a Z-list celebrity, if I would go so far as to call myself that, who would care about the Z-list celebrity creating some Final Fantasy artwork? It's kind of weird that how I think about myself, because in some ways, like I'm a complete unknown. You know, someone with 200 subscribers on YouTube who tends to get no more than about 50 views typically on a video. There's a few I've had that have got a few thousand views at this juncture, but yeah, generally, I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't get more than a dozen views or whatever. Like I say, I don't really care so much about the views, but it's just an audience, isn't it? Anyone that puts anything out on the internet is probably doing it for an audience. Otherwise, it just wouldn't be put on the internet. It would just stay on their phones or hard drives, wouldn't it? So, and maybe there are things that's like, well, no, I'm just doing this for my friends. I'm just doing this for my family, and fair enough. But those things again could just be shared privately in a WhatsApp chat or something. So everyone kind of wants attention in whatever it is they're doing, and it's hard to. I think it's really hard for anyone to justify anything, because 99% of people that put anything out on the internet, like whatever they're doing, isn't really worth anyone's time, because even in that 1% that is worth people's time, there are millions of, videos, for example, and with YouTube as well, like the whole library of all videos that have ever been put out is growing bigger and bigger, and who knows, give it 5 years time and AI will be putting out video content that's 5,000 times better than any human could put out. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year most content being put out, or well, maybe not that it exists already, but certainly being put out is going to be AI content. Maybe that even exists on the internet. Maybe most content will be AI content. So yeah, what does anyone do about that? What do you do when you're reasonably popular and you're trying to compete in a space for attention, when the standard or the bar or the expectation is so high? Let alone, what does someone who is almost a complete unknown like myself what can I do? What can anyone do? What can anyone listening who has like a follower or 10 followers or no followers, how would they go from 0 to 1 million or being more modest, 1,000? Like, why would anyone care about anything, unless, like I say, you've got that thing about specifically wanting to, or being able to help people answer a question, unless you can immediately provide that service. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's too self-indulgent or too bold to expect that a random person will have anything to say that anyone would care about. It's a weird thing, because every person's unique. Everyone has their own life, and everyone really, without many exceptions, is kind of interested in some way. This is what I think. Like, if you can really get down to what people are about, even very basic, plain, simple people that have very simple lives. Like, if you're interested in human psychology, or just people's motives, or just I don't know, like evolutionary sort of biology, psychology, science, just understanding people, I find just fascinating. And people are just infinitely complex, even the most simple people. And sometimes it's just asking the right questions is what gets the interest or the interesting things out of people. But within everyone, it's there. I really don't know, but I would hope that there's something inside even me that is of interest to some people. It's not going to be of interest to most people for sure, but if I can figure out how to get to something that's true, then maybe someone else is going to totally get it, and that would be worth it. That would be my hope. But then I always wonder when putting content out, like anything that I put out, is it going to be so niche to me? Whether it is, say, if it were an audio sort of podcast style thing, like I guess you could say this is a VO or some artwork, a social media post. How do you make things universal while still trying to get across your own unique qualities? Like I say, I think it's probably something to do with kind of finding some truths about yourself and being willing to talk about them. Difficult when you've traditionally been a very private person, but as I've said in a previous video, I'm at a point where I've got nothing to lose anymore, and yeah, because I think that there was always a fear that people would find me detestable or hate me or ridicule me or something like that. But I notice people just do that to everyone anyway, and people do that to people that even I would go so far as to say I admire. People who are mostly selfless, mostly without fault, but everyone has some fault. Now, the amount of people on the internet, for example, that will write paragraphs or video comments in response to a person who is just trying to do something good, and they will just be hating on them. And I was like, there really is just no pleasing all the people all of the time. There's no doing it. I used to think you could do it if you just kept your mouth shut and you just didn't make eye contact with anyone. You just looked away, just stood in the corner. You could kind of get away with being unnoticed, and you'd avoid conflict and ridicule. But at the same time, you're then just standing there in the corner. You're not engaging with life. I guess the hard bit really is dealing with your own shortcomings, insecurities, and anxieties. And for some people, they're easily fazed by things, and it's a big deal then when people go out into the world, or even the online world, and put themselves out there. Because you might get 100 compliments on a social media post, but then you'll get that one where people might say something, especially if it attacks something that you're genuinely insecure about. Like, people were to say, if people said to me, look, your artwork sucks, give up now, you're never going to get there. Because I genuinely think that on occasions, and I wonder whether that's true, like, internally, but I don't want to admit it, because at the same time I'm trying to sort of pursue some type of career in this field. And as well, when I'm trying to equally project, maybe not now, but on, for example, my website, my portfolio, I'm trying to project some kind of level of professionalism, and it's hard to reconcile the projection of confidence and professionalism with this internal feeling of not being good enough, and knowing, just objectively that, I'm not in the top tiers within this kind of profession, I guess you could say. So yeah, it's all very everything's very complicated, or at least my mind likes to make it very complicated. So yeah. What else? So last week was experimenting a little bit with social media, bit of website maintenance. I don't mind working on my own personal website. That's fine. It's it's my little project. It's my thing. It's away from the restrictions of social media. I guess we take something like Instagram. At any point, Instagram can just say, people could just go off the platform and be like, we're done with Instagram. We don't like it anymore. We're done using it, and they'll use the next thing, kind of like they did with MySpace, and then Facebook, and then Tumblr and Google Plus. So there were all these social media things that, well, people just moved on to different things. And whereas as long as you've got a consistent website, you've got your domain name and your thing on it. I mean, you can change your web design, but at least you've got that one thing that you could potentially always direct people to. And I like the idea of that. Also with social media, just the format of it, the sort of competitive aspect of it, where you can't go on there with feeling as though you're not good enough, because if you're just seeing all these posts by everyone else doing all their things, it's easy to just feel overwhelmed, especially if you're like me. You're trying to sort of use it more as a sort of promotional tool than a social tool to connect with your friends. For me, I see people offline. I'm not just a complete online type that has a lot of online friends and stuff. So yeah, I'm happy just to go off the internet and be away from the net when I want to socialise. I don't need social media. I don't need online socialising. Although, it has its advantages. It's quite good to some degree, occasionally, just to see what other people are up to. But for me personally, I don't have a large network of friends. I'm quite happy with the people I have got in my life, and yeah, if I want to know what's going on in their life, well, that's a good excuse for me to get in contact and arrange a meet-up and see what's going on with them. So I prefer just in-person sort of contact, social contact, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say. But if anyone doesn't, that's fine. All of this is just talking from my own perspective. I'm not knocking anyone for anything they do. Which is another weird thing, the fact that everyone always has to caveat everything they say. Oh, just letting you know, I just want, when I say that I like this thing, I want to make it clear that I'm not saying that I don't like the other thing. It's like, why does everyone have to do that? Just a little observation. So last week, it was little social media experiments, website maintenance work, just some background stuff, sort of sending out a handful of web orders and bits and pieces that needed doing. Not too eventful, but just things that kind of needed doing, I guess you could say. This week, work-wise, is not going to be a full-on week, I don't think. Basically, I've realised I'm not going to post anything on social media other than YouTube. So, yeah, giving up the social media stuff for a week, just because I'm kind of feeling as though there's something in it, but if you're going to do it, you have to be more mindful and tactful of what you're doing. Probably the same with audio or video content. So yeah, it's no social media next week, and maybe none for a while. I mean, I haven't really posted on social media at all for about 4 months. It was only like last week and the week before where I thought had another little dabble with it. Again, just experimenting, just trying a few things out, kind of seeing what I think about it, and because it's kind of interesting in its own way, but it's also something that takes getting used to. Perhaps not if you're like 15 years old, but I'm in my 40s, so I'm not, and I've got life outside of the sort of modern internet trends and the rest of it. So knowing exactly what's current, I'm a bit out of touch, granddad. So anyway, this week I also feel like I'm probably going to I've got a lot of sort of social things lined up for sort of 6 out of 7 of the days, sort of in the evenings. So it's not going to be a case of working all day or all night. It's going to be limits to what I can sort of do work-wise. I also, every week, try and fit in, if possible, a day of activity, or maybe not a day, but certainly a good few hours of doing something. Normally, for me, it's rock climbing. In an ideal world, I would probably be doing it a lot more, or at least paying a bit more attention to the sort of health and fitness aspects of life. But I'm not at a point where I feel I can do that just yet. And yeah, I've set aside a day because I've got some personal offline jobs I need to take care of. So yeah, that doesn't give me much time to do too much. I'm going to probably try and do another talk or whatever this coming week. Maybe do a few more, see how I get on. Depends what I've got to say. But then it's kind of, the main job, I guess, is because like I say, I'm at a point now where I've kind of cleared the calendar. I don't have any client work. I don't have any commissions. I don't have any projects, like actual projects that I have a publisher or a company or individual waiting on. I don't think. No. There's a few unfinished client projects. I mentioned about tattooing a while back. I used to be a tattooist, and I actually have some customers who have half-finished tattoos and I'm still kind of waiting for those customers to get back in touch, and they do sometimes. I hear from them once every 6 months, and they say, oh, can you finish some of this? And I randomly might need to take a day off that month just to finish off a tattoo that I've sort of half or have been working on for sort of several years, but the customer doesn't want to sort of rush to get it done in any time soon. So, but I still want to finish them. So yeah, there's always little things like that just come up. Little projects where it's like, oh, can you do this little thing for me? Or, oh, we started this thing a while ago. I now need the second part of it. Can you do that? But generally speaking, there are no commissions. There is no big project that I'm now working towards. I'm not working on starting a new online shop or creating a new product range or anything like that. I'm completely sort of starting from scratch in some ways. I've got a few comic conventions lined up for the next coming few months. I have actually got some print, a couple of new art prints I'll be bringing to those conventions, and I actually got my art print order through yesterday, so I need to go through those, check that they're all good, that they're going to be fine for the convention, make sure they're not damaged in any way. So that'll be an interesting little job. So yeah, that's another little job I need to get through, and then that's it. Yeah, so that's me again, just maximising what I've done, just creating a few new products, a few new pieces of fan art or whatever it is, just to show at the conventions I'll be attending. But generally speaking, I kind of feel like with the conventions I've got as far as I can get, and now it's a case of I've got as far as I can get, and it's kind of a bit of rinse and repeat. Like I could probably just do with just turning up, selling off what I've got, and then leaving it at that. I don't think, because there are people that go to these comic conventions that would sell maybe 20 times the amount of, or make 20 times the amount of revenue that I would generate at one of these shows. Their costs would probably be a little bit higher, but not enough to make, not much by much. So I kind of think it's a weird thing when, if I go to a show or event, let's keep this simple. Let's just say I make £1,000, but I know that there's a competitor who's going to make maybe £10,000. It's hard for me to think, well, we're both putting in the same amount of time. We've both got to turn up. We've both got to set up our display and, sell our wares to our customers. But if I'm going to be doing it, I might as well be trying to make more money doing it, which is kind of what I've done. I went from doing like 10 conventions years ago and having an overall loss after 10 conventions to get into a point where I finally started breaking even, and then going from breaking even to finally making some money. But now we're at a point now where I've either maxed out my kind of product listing or my ability or my style. Like I think, even though I kind of know where I'm at on a technical level, and I know it's perhaps not where I wish it was, I also know that I'm probably just about good enough to create something else which would be a lot more lucrative, and it's kind of knowing what to do exactly. It's kind of been an interesting journey just to kind of go from creating original artworks to introducing fan artworks, to see which fan artwork sold, which didn't. That whole process is kind of, I learned from that. It'd be good to somehow apply that into something new. But equally, like I say, I kind of feel like with the fan art that I've done, or even original art prints, things that I've made specifically for art prints or t-shirts, it's all, what's the word? I want to say consistent. It's not super consistent, but it's all similar kind of stuff. It doesn't really have a very unified brand, I guess you could say. Maybe it does, but I don't feel it does. Like sometimes you see an art brand on, like a range of art prints or a range of t-shirts or stickers or whatever it is, and it's like, yeah, I can see that this is all very much the same thing. Maybe it's all, skulls with like gold trim or something, or variations of, it's all that kind of gothic, macabre kind of horror stuff. And it's like, yeah, this is all the same style, the same, it all has that gold trim, it all has that same kind of brand styling. And I kind of feel like that would be, or that should be something that I should be thinking about more so than just, here are some colourful characters that I've done in my sort of most sort of, I guess, generic-y, typical kind of style, if you want to call it that. Yeah, maybe there's just another way of layering something on top of what I'm doing rather than just it being some fan art. I mean, I always try and do that to some degree. I try and, there's always a little something like I try and fuse sort of my sort of knowledge of sort of tattoos and that kind of compositional layout into a bit of fan art to some degree, and it kind of has its own vibe, but I feel like it's not strong enough on its own. So I feel like I could probably do with doing something completely different. So yeah, anyway, long story short, so far as the shows go that I attend, I've got some stuff and it does okay, but I think it could potentially do 10 times better if I corrected the content, the actual style of what I was doing. Although that's quite a difficult job. But perhaps an easier job, which is the second component, would be to correct the format. So, there are art prints, and that's at this stage, that's pretty much all I sell. I just sell art prints. Most people don't just sell art prints. Normally it's art prints, but also bookmarks or stickers or enamel pin badges or acrylic charms or key rings, keychains, jewellery, bags or mugs or t-shirts or something with a sort of secondary purpose, sort of above and beyond the artwork itself. So, I mean, there are people that just do the prints, and fair enough, some of them do really well with just the prints. So it's not like you can't do it, but it's probably a harder sell. It's probably a harder ask. The people that seem to do really well with just prints are more rather than just being sort of in the artist's alley area of a convention like I'm typically in. They tend to be more in the sort of retail space, have maybe sort of 2 or 3 tables sort of joined together, a bit more of a presence, and they have a super consistent brand style and a lot of options. So it's like, well, pick your favourite character out or IP or series or whatever it is out of our 60 or 100 different options. Whatever you like, we've got it. So as long as you kind of like the style, whether it's maybe it'll be like a very traditional old school Japanese woodblock print, or like a cutesy chibi version, done with what looks like, I don't know, textiles and felt and something. I don't know. It'll be something very unique, and it'll be a big range of characters, and you sort of pick the ones you like. Kind of like with the sort of pop vinyl Funko toys, where the style's consistent, but we have all the characters. So now it's just a case of finding the character that you resonate with. So yeah. Anyway, that's just a little observation I've had, that if I wanted to go down the just print route, or continue down it, should I say, then that's what I'm missing, I guess. So yeah, I feel like I've definitely got about as far as I can with the art prints, and things I don't want to completely give it up, because like I say, there are people that support what I do. They come to the shows every time. They've seen me down there for the last however many years, and they want to continue buying the prints I've done. And some people will come up and they'll say, oh, I've got this one, I've got that one, have you got any new art prints that I can buy? And I don't want to disappoint those people, because they've been good supporters of the work that I do, and I really appreciate them. So I don't want to abandon them and then just start doing cutesy little stickers or something, if that turns out to be the thing that is making the money, or could make the money, or whatever. So we'll see. But yeah, So what else we got this week? I think if there's a few days spare, which I'm sure there will be, it'll be assessing a game project that I started to work on. This was a personal project that I had this idea to stick it on Kickstarter and get it funded, but kind of like with the idea of becoming a kind of an entity or a established artist that kind of can build a reputation. I'd love to just be one of these people who says, oh, okay, I'm designing a print about trying to think what I might be interested in. Maybe some kind of like cyberpunk girl on a motorbike made of skulls or bones or something. I don't know, just something a bit sci-fi, horror-y, I don't know. I'm not very good at thinking up good ideas on the spot. But anyway, let's just say I've got some good ideas. I would love to be able to just say, I've got this idea, I would love to do this, and then see if I could get 100 people say, yep, if you did that, I would buy that as a print. Or even just one person said, if you paint that on a big canvas, I'll give you thousands of pounds for it. Great. That would be ideal. That's kind of what I would love. But it's like I say, it's trying to find people that resonate with your ideas, with the things you're doing, and I think that's something that I need to work on, the sort of promotion side of things. But so until then, anyway, going back to this idea of I had this game that I made. It's a really good game. I'm actually quite into card games, board games. It's a thing I've kind of enjoyed for quite a few years, and I made my own game, and it's actually really fun. And I started working on the artwork for it because it was so good. I thought I could actually turn this into a game. So I started working on the artwork for it. I must have invested several months in it at this point, and then the project got a bit abandoned. I kind of felt like basically I lost a bit of faith in it, lost confidence. I felt like, it was at the same time when I myself started losing faith and confidence in crowdfunding as a platform. I won't go into that too much right now, but I kind of, not just that, but I realised I went to a board game convention, an actual show, and realised that it's super competitive. And who am I? I'm not a board game publisher. I'm not even like a big time, long-term board game fan. I kind of grew up playing more video games and computer games than I did board games, even though I did play a few old school games like Talisman and old card games and stuff as well. But yeah, it was more. The board game thing has been something that's been more of an interest in the last sort of 5 years, I'd say. 5 or 6 years, or maybe a bit more than that, maybe several years. Anyway, certainly not as a kid, but as an adult. So anyway, I had this idea, put together a game, sell it, see how it does. I would never expect it to do super well, because who am I? I'm just me trying to put a thing out on my own, and I have no contacts in this industry. I don't know anyone, and I'm doing everything. It's not like I've got, someone designing it, someone doing the graphics for it, someone doing the illustration for it, someone writing the manual, someone doing the promotion, someone doing the logistics, someone doing the whatever. It's like, no, I'm going to have to do it all, which is fine to some degree, but also it's a steep learning curve to create a whole new project from scratch. It's kind of like when I started learning how to create websites. I had this idea to put an online portfolio together way back 25 years ago, whenever it was. And I wanted a good little website, but I didn't have the money to pay anyone to do it. So I thought I'd just learn myself. And it's great learning things, but it takes a long time, and still you're even after you've made your first website, you're not really a web designer at that point. It's like, well, you've made a site. The same as if you try and paint a canvas. So you might have painted a painting, but are you an artist? I think you need to sort of pay your dues and have created at least several paintings to get to a point where it's like, yeah, okay, this is my thing now, rather than this is a thing that I did. So So yeah, the card game is something which, I mean, it's, yeah. When I think about it, it gives me a lot of motivation and joy, and I would love to turn it into a thing. And the thing is, it's really good because I played a lot of games, and I know I played so many that I just don't enjoy, and I know that I like this, and I'm quite critical with things like that. So I think it might not be the best thing ever made, but I'm pretty sure that would play it and think, yeah, I enjoyed that. So I would love to give people the opportunity to have some fun with that, but I can't give them the fun times because I haven't made it yet, and I am very concerned about potentially trying to then produce it. But I did get quite far so far as rules and artwork goes. I kind of feel like I probably got about 75%, 80% through doing what I wanted to do. I even came up with all these ideas to expand the game later on if things took off, but one step at a time. So anyway, I think this week I'm going to maybe have a look at that kind of as an interim project. It is a side quest. It's not the main thing that I really should be thinking about, but I still don't know what I should be thinking about, and I don't want to just not do anything with my week, like work-wise. So, I mean, I'll have some other orders and things to facilitate as well, but on top of that, I need to, I would like to think of something else to do. And like I say, all of this stuff, I'm doing it all on my own. I don't have any help, guidance. I got a few people that are maybe willing to play test the game, but yeah, literally just a few, maybe a dozen people. I mean, I've had maybe a dozen people play it so far, to try and get some feedback. The trouble is, I think like I need some people that are quite critical, because everyone I've showed it to, like, yeah, I love it. And it's like, that's great, but I'm sure it's not perfect, and I need it to be. Yeah, I think I need it to get to a point where people are excited to play it and would say, oh, any chance can you bring that game round? Can we play your game? That's quite fun. Rather than just, yeah, it's great, and then never get a request to play it again, because that's when you know it's, or potentially it's just people being polite. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. That's what I'm thinking about. So this week, it's making those little incremental changes. This week is a little bit of it's going to be a shorter week. Like I say, they're just other little things I need to get done in the background. But the sort of the game project side quest, until I know how to like progress along my main quests, then I'm going to be, I think, working on that, and in the meantime trying to figure out what the hell I do as part of the main thing. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it there, and I'm sure I'll be talking more about the product, about the process of sustaining the art career as time goes on. But until then, thanks for listening.